Hello, everyone, and welcome to PARQA PulseCast. My name is Travis Webb, Vice President of Sales at PARQA, and I'm thrilled to have you all here today. I'm excited to be talking to today's guest about one of the most popular things in the world right now, Taylor Swift. No, just kidding. She's pretty popular, but to be honest, what we're talking about today is talked about way more than Taylor Swift is, and that's AI. In all seriousness, in today's digital age, the staffing and recruiting industry is rapidly evolving, and AI has become a game changer. Our esteemed panelists are experts in the field, representing leading organizations in the AI driven staffing landscape. Today, we're here to explore how AI is revolutionizing staffing and recruiting, enabling us to find the best talent and opportunities faster and more efficiently than ever before. We'll delve into various aspects of AI, from product offerings to real world applications, and share insights that can reshape your strategies. Before we dive into the discussion, I'd like to give each of our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves and provide a brief overview of their respective products and services. All right, so Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Bullhorn.
Sure. So I'm Jeff Neumann, Senior Vice President of Product Marketing at Bullhorn. I've been with the company a little over 9 years. I'm responsible for all of our go-to-market strategy and execution across our whole portfolio. And I spend a majority of my times working with our largest enterprise clients globally on tech stack strategies, disruptive technologies, and talking through kind of technology roadmap and vision.
Awesome, good stuff. You're also a world traveler. I know I ran into you in San Francisco a few weeks back. You were in London last week, so you got a lot
Charlotte
going
this
on.
week,
We're excited to have you here with us today for this conversation. So welcome. Next, we're going to slide over to Matt with Staffing Engine. Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role.
Yep, Matt Dichter, VP of Sales at Staffing Engine. I joined the company about 2 years ago. Prior to that, I worked with Jeff at Bullhorn for close to 9 years. And our goal at Staffing Engine is to bring the industry's first recruiting acceleration platform to market and help different staffing agencies leverage AI in a lot of cool and different ways.
Awesome, good stuff. Matt's also a avid traveler. I was hanging out with him in Dallas a couple weeks back at SIA's Gig E, so it's always great to hang out and talk with Matt. James, tell us a little about yourself and your background and your role.
Yeah, thanks, Travis. So James Winfrey, Head of Partnerships and Integrations here at Leoforce. We are an AI sourcing tool to help bring automations to recruiters, make them more efficient at what they do. I've been in the space for about 21 years now. I call it the human capital space. I've been at Leoforce for the last year and a half, managing anything from agency relationships to applicant tracking system integrations to channel sales development and everything in between. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. And we were fortunate enough back in June at Bullhorn Engage, we did a luncheon roundtable with James and the team there. So talking about AI. So that was a great experience there. We're excited to be back on with you again. And last but certainly not least, Andrew Buhrmann. Andrew, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role.
Yeah, hi, my name is Andrew Buhrmann, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of vettd.ai. And our product, Candidate IQ, fixes candidate database problems so that staffing firms can use AI and automation at scale. We were founded in 2014 and are headquartered out of Seattle, Washington.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, I can tell you, I'm super excited to have all of you guys here today. I think no doubt about it. Anywhere you go, any of these conferences, really anything in business right now is AI dominated. So very hot topic. But today we're really talking about the specifics to the staffing and recruiting industry, not just Chat GPT and basic prompts and different things like that, but really that the applications and the AI that's helping drive the business forward and the future of staffing and recruiting, right? So I was thinking about this earlier today. Over the last 3 to 4 years, well, first step back, how I ended up at PARQA, right? Like I got introduced to PARQA. I have 20 plus years in the staffing business. And as I told somebody the other day, we're talking about things, still having the same conversations we had 20 years ago, right? About what the future of staffing looks like. But I will say over the last couple of years, I think the pandemic really helped catapult the industry forward. And then now you look at AI that's come in, and it's just this monster of productivity and speed and efficiency, but there's still so many unknowns out there. So let's just kind of around the horn. Let's talk about kind of the current landscape of AI and staffing today as we look at today, like some of the trends we're seeing, any of the advancements. What are some of the hot topics that you're seeing with AI when it comes to staffing?
On my side, I think people are still discovering how they can use AI to create these automations. I think a lot of people are fearful of what AI brings to the table. Will my job be replaced? Will my role be replaced? But it really is just identifying where AI can help create these automations for people to make them better at what they do, or spending more time on activities that are more lucrative to the business. So if you think about a recruiter going through a resume, or is that recruiter's time better spent on the phone developing a relationship with an individual? And so I think that right now people are still identifying, where does AI fit into my business? And it's changing so quickly that where it was search and match 2.5 years ago, now it's predictive, and I really think it's moving so quickly that people are still trying to get a grasp on, where does this fit in my business today?
Yeah, and going off that, when you think about traditional recruitment and sales, there's a lot of administrative tasks and a lot of interruptions throughout a recruiter's day. But what ultimately makes a staffing agency money is relationship building activities, those face-to-face or phone call interactions where you're building a human touch. And each of those sort of administrative tasks, whether it's creating job descriptions, building submittals, those all take a recruiter a lot of time that can be better spent on those relationship building activities. And I think that there's a lot that's happening to leverage AI to get recruiters more focused on those revenue generating type of activities.
And I think just to key off that, Matt, I think the big change for us, and we've been doing this for a while, and used to create a lot of personalized deep neural networks and applying that to reviewing resumes. But now it's sort of this mass adoption of trust in the AI models. So I think just becoming familiar and comfortable with it, and if you do have it do an administrative task or generate a new email, do you trust the output? Right? Is that a reflection on your own sort of ability or performance? I think that's been the coolest thing. And even since ChatGPT came out, just people signing up and logging in and using it for all sorts of activities, and they can now translate that into their work environment. And so that relationship building between the two, I think, is one of the coolest things that we've seen come to market.
I was just going to say, you mentioned trust. I think for those of us that were at Dreamforce, I mean, that was a very common message from the very beginning. It wasn't just AI, it was trusted AI. Jeff, I'm sure you heard that several times while you're out there, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Trust, I think, is one of the biggest topics that people are talking about right now. AI in general has always been kind of predicated on corporate data and personal data. And I think especially as we move into a new world with generative AI, that historically has been trained on lots of public information sources from around the web. I think people are especially protective and a little worried that their corporate information, some of their trade secrets and some of the conversations that even happen internally are going to get exposed to the public sector, and they're going to be part of these AI tools going forward. So trust is definitely a big factor as we look at AI solutions.
Yeah, I know. Not to call anybody about it, but I know Zoom kind of had a little dust up there with trying to build their LLM with everybody's recordings. So I know that got turned off in most environments, but that was one of those that kind of pops into mind when I think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's been examples where trust has become a little bit of a concern, right? I don't know if other people saw, but even Microsoft admitted that 2 years ago they released terabytes of personal information, inside information related to conversations that were happening within teams and other intercompany information that was shared back and forth, and that was mistakenly shared with some large language models.
And it's funny to see when those things happen, it's under the magnifying scope of LinkedIn and social media, so everyone hears about it. Like that that Zoom example was, out there in the open for everyone to see.
Well, let's pivot here for a minute. I think this one will probably lend a little itself towards James and Andrew, but let's talk about AI-powered sourcing and matching. That seems to be, James, you kind of brought it up a little bit a minute ago, but let's talk about that a little bit, with Arya and what you guys are doing with sourcing and matching and how you're leveraging AI.
Yeah, so it's a really cool comment. Every time I talk to somebody, I ask, people talk about AI and they say that, hey, AI, yeah, I've got AI and it's basic search and match. And it really is what foundation and what philosophy your AI was built on. And so at Arya, we built our philosophy around the prediction of a success of a particular person in a particular role at a particular organization. Not just saying that this person matches this role, but saying that this person matches this role and is more likely to succeed than person A, B, C, and D. And so that really for us has been exciting because when you look at staffing organizations, and if you can get that right person in which the AI is predicting the success of that person in that particular role, for staffing organizations specifically, if you can up your time to placement by a day or 2 or 3 days, that's not money saved, that's money earned. So it's a real easy metric for us to track and speak to and for it to resonate with a staffing organization is that AI is not just going to make you all more efficient. It's going to make you money quicker and be better at your roles, which for us is unbelievably exciting. And I think we're only scratching the surface in what this can do for staffing organizations specifically.
Yeah. And Andrew, talk a little bit about your product. And I think from the sourcing standpoint, the fact that you're using AI kind of on the data side, but from, keeping the candidates up to date. Talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's, just also keying off of what James had said on the data foundation. So what information does an AI, right, or semantic matching system have access to? And is it the same information that the person has access to? So there's always been this sort of conflict around when you make a recommendation, right? Everyone's the smartest person they know. So if a machine's going to make a recommendation, is it really understanding the position or the role of the person the same way the human does? So I think the really cool thing is when you start to have, the ability to better control, right, and guide sort of the AI and to focus on different nuance. That's been, I think, a huge, just opportunity in the market to have better performance. And ultimately, even if the AI is an amazing algorithm, if it's working off of incorrect data, the results are going to be poor. And so our deep experience in building these custom search engines and these massive databases, it just, if they were outdated or stale, the results didn't matter. And I think especially for staffing firms, they're dealing with an inventory issue. So unlike sort of corporate HR, where you're going to have more inbound applicants you're trying to screen, or in real-time sourcing, those are different problems than, hey, I have this massive database, I want to unleash, right, automation AI on that to help us improve our performance. But if the data is wrong, then you're not going to get there. And so that's been our opportunity to say, hey, we'll come in and help to make all the other AI products better, and to use it right on a different application, ultimately that's going to drive better outcome.
Yeah, and I think that's a bigger issue. We talk about it all the time with our clients, right? It's like you can have the best tools and the best tech and want to do the best automations and use AI, but if your data's a mess on the back end, right? Like the foundation for your house is crumbling and you keep stacking technologies and cool tools on top of it, eventually it's going to crumble, right? Like it all goes back to that data in the beginning. And I think, data-driven decision-making, AI analytics, some of that piece of it, there's so much the ability to just analyze information, from that side of it too, I think is super important. But I just look back, sourcing and matching and, running a desk and running branches and regions for 20 years. Like, I would have loved to have this stuff instead of having my recruiters make, 100 cold calls a day and get hung up on and told all kinds of pleasantries, right? Just to try to find 1 or 2 candidates. And so, I think this is only going to continue to get better. I think the AI gets smarter and you guys are training your tools and we have all these things going on, and it's exciting what's coming down the road with that. Jeff, anything to add in that area?
I think there's been a big paradigm shift in staffing tech over the last couple of years. I think historically, many organizations have tried to put together their whole tech stack by themselves with lots of different pieces. And that artificially created a whole bunch of data silos that made uh, AI and automation tools virtually impossible to derive a lot of value from. And I think that's what's most exciting about today. Many firms have recognized that moving towards a true platform as the foundation of their tech stack is an absolute necessity. And because they've started to move into that centralized place of all of their information, they're starting to standardize processes. They're having more consistency across their basis. That's really creating that unified set of data and those really cleaned elements of data that really allow tools like AI tools to really function and behave the way that they should.
No doubt about that. Let's talk about consistency and just kind of an experience. Let's talk about enhancing the candidate experience with AI. Right? I know, Matt, you guys have some tools that interact with websites and candidates, and that's one of the things that PARQA, we deal with clients a lot. Right? Is that candidate experience with the competitive landscape that it is today. It's no longer just finding that candidate. It's them finding you and them having a great experience and being able to interact with your team and have a great experience. So tell us a little bit about that piece of it, Matt.
Yeah, one of the things that's been very fun is actually finding more use cases of where to apply AI as we've grown. So when we first started out, we were almost a one-trick pony. So your website chatbot, where candidate comes in, you greet them, qualify them, answer any questions they have, and then route them to the appropriate recruiter or salesperson if it's a sales lead for rapid follow-up. So when we started out, it was very top of funnel focused. Well, fast forward a few months later, and most of our customers are leveraging some form of automation, whether it's Bullhorn automation or Sense or Marketing Cloud, and they're wanting to run regeneration campaigns, qualification campaigns for people who have already come into their database. And so enabling them to drop conversational components in that outreach to regenerate and requalify and then route those folks back to the recruiter has also downstream helped. And then finally, we've got a lot of customers who are starting to adopt mobile app solutions. And for their use case, these are people who have been in their database for a while, already on assignment, and they're coming back and have questions around their time cards or their pay stubs or their onboarding documents. And so there's that post-hire world where you can leverage both AI, but also a live chat experience to connect them directly one-on-one with a recruiter or with an AI component to answer any questions they have. And so it's been fun watching Staffing Engine evolve from being what was initially a top of funnel AI solution to really helping out throughout the entire recruitment process.
I think you make a good point there, right? Like we're still in its infancy, right? The crazy part is how wild it is and the use cases and what we're discovering today. Like, what does 6 months look like, right? 6 months from now look like? You look at GPT-4 and DALL-E 3 and all the stuff that came out. I mean, just the image stuff. Like there's every day. I mean, you could consume your entire life trying to check out all these products, but it's like, I think that's what excites me with it is what's next, what's that possibility, what does the future look like, because it's there's so many cool things, and like you guys, you come up with a new use case as you talk to customers, like there's so many more out there that are yet to be discovered, that I think are just, it's a matter of time.
Yeah, and I think about like the holy grail, and right now where the industry's at, and Staffing Engines included, we can create an internal knowledge model for a staffing agency. So if someone comes in and asks for their timesheets or pay stubs, we are smart enough to leverage AI to tell them where to go to log in to see it. Jeff talked earlier about the benefit of a true platform play. And I know I'm cutting ahead a little bit here, but where I see it going is the AI being smart enough to actually ping that database, look up, the timesheets for your week ending X, Y, and Z, and then pull that data from the ATS CRM platform and supply it to the end user without any form of human interaction, because those, one-off requests, frequently asked questions, take up a lot of agency time to respond to. And the more that we can help them leverage AI to free up their internal employees' time, the better job that we're doing.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about AI challenges and best practices, right? So obviously, I think anybody that's kind of forward thinking, I'll call them early adopters, would love to jump on and just like throw as many use cases as they can at it, right, and go. But what are some of the, I guess, as your products or just using AI in general yourselves, like what have been some of the challenges that you've seen? Or I guess maybe Jeff, from Bullhorn's standpoint, like I'm sure there's a million ideas that are out there for the platform, right? Like what are the challenges like with implementing them with customers or at scale?
I think both James and Andrew touched upon this earlier. I think the biggest challenge that customers face in leveraging AI tools is underestimating the quality of their data. I think many customers are challenged with having inconsistencies in their data, and they think that simply turning on an AI tool is going to solve all their problems. And I think that's where I've seen a lot of customers face the most challenges. I think the second is understanding the right places to insert AI capabilities within the natural workflow of their recruiters and of their salespeople. It has to feel intuitive. It has to feel like it's part of the things that they do every day. If it's outside the system, or if it's an experience that doesn't feel natural to them, they're not going to use it. And quite frankly, if they start to see the results from AI tools not really live up to their expectations, they're going to turn away and they'll stop using it. And I think those are two critical things for companies to understand: is how good is their data, how clean is their house, where are the right places to insert AI capabilities to really empower and support their people in their day-to-day jobs, and also understand that there's kind of like stepping stones that you have to go through, right? And we always say at Bullhorn, the first step is always centralize your data into one single place. The second is you have to unleash automation in order to help control that data and to really improve the quality of information that you have available to the AI tools. And then you can use any AI tools that you want from the right partners, and then you'll really get the value that you're looking for.
So Andrew, this should be music to your ears. I saw you ready to chime in up there for what you do. So why don't you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, and I think just again, what Jeff just talked about, it comes out of that change management too. So we've seen a lot of executives get really excited and get really aggressive with their initiatives, and ultimately, if it's out of sync with the recruiters, it can fall flat. So in that case, it's one, really understanding, okay, if we implement this massive project, can the recruiters take advantage of it? How's it going to fit in their flow? And then ultimately, will it work the way they think it will work, right? So the idea versus the reality of it. And then in the reality is, again, a lot of people's data is just terrible, right? You can't connect with somebody if you don't have contact information, right? Or if you have their old job or missing, right, work history. So getting all of that in a spot of good data, and then the right change management practices, and then those business use cases where the executives understand the value they're going to gain and can properly communicate that to the recruiters. That's it's been a challenge, and so that's where even we're leaning into that heavily. So we have a program that we're running where we get really hands-on to fix that data and then actually showcase those use cases, because I also think executives are a little bit hesitant to spend money up front if they can't see the results. And a lot of this is new and unfamiliar to them. And so how can you help them get familiar with the process and gain confidence, and so that they can keep building towards a more sophisticated performance engine?
Yeah, I think you brought up the term change management. And I think that's key, not only for these AI initiatives, but any tech tools or tech stack in general, right? Because it's, if the communication's not done right, the bought-in's not if you don't get the buy-in from your team, right, like that makes it tough. Full disclosure, I was part of one of Bullhorn's biggest implementations, right? And it was set up for the operations team, not really the sales team or the field team, right? So we showed up one day and it's like, hey, here's your 3-page document, like you're using Bullhorn now, right? And, that's not Bullhorn's fault, right? Like that's change management internally at the company, right? Like, that's an experience though, right? Like, and you want people to be excited. So, one of the things we've been talking about with some companies is like that internal messaging. How do we get the team excited? How do you get them bought in to be like, okay, hey, I've got this new tool coming. It's going to make my life easier. It's not here to replace me, right? Like that's, I think a fear you have to get over with a lot of people, but I think it's important that change management, communication, the buy-in, that's all super important to make sure that as we roll out these tools and put them in, that they're adopted and people buy into them.
That's been our biggest challenge here, Travis, is just adoption. So adoption of the tool, the trust in the tool. It's really hard to get somebody out of LinkedIn and their Boolean search strings and trusting this AI to do a lot of that heavy lifting for them. But with those challenges, it's provided opportunities for our end, because Matt, you had mentioned earlier, is like when I joined 16, 18 months ago, we were a one-trick pony. And it was a really, we were selling this beautiful BMW that had all of these great features, but there was only one version of it. And if you didn't want that beautiful, beautiful version, then you weren't you weren't part of our customer base. But now we've pulled out a lot of those features and utilize them in different AI environments, which has been a ton of fun, and saying, all right, how can I use the AI and solve more problems for you, but just using a feature of what it is that we were doing. It was part of that bigger picture. And so I think where there are those challenges is, for us, in some cases, provide a lot of opportunities to go after different customers with different needs, which is, to your point, man, it's been a lot of fun to see the AI being used in different use cases.
From a best practices standpoint, our industry tends to be technology laggards. And I've always taken the position that when it comes to adoption, it really needs to start at the leadership level. For example, internally, I've started putting generative AI use cases in our onboarding documentation for our new sales hires. And I've started to see some recruiting agencies do the same thing. Historically speaking, it might take you an entire quarter or two to ramp a new hire, because they have to attend all sort of internal trainings to learn industry, roles they're going after, et cetera. Well, you can cut that ramp time down pretty substantially by doing things in ChatGPT and generative AI to pick up industry knowledge, messaging, negotiation, role playing. A lot of people think that Gen AI can just help with producing some sort of outbound document, but there's a lot more that it can do around role playing and actual implementation of best practices. And so we've been working with some of our staffing agency customers and understanding that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, I think there's some fear there too, right? Like it's interesting. You mentioned being laggards, but like it really is kind of an old school industry, right? Like if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? And I always joke around, we do performance marketing along with tech and data, but from the marketing side, it's like when things are good, it's like, no, things are good, we don't need marketing, right? When things are bad, it's, well, we're cutting expenses, we don't have time for marketing, right? But that median line just stays the same, right? There's never, it just kind of, you ride the wave of ups and downs. And I feel like with AI, there's a lot of people that are just a little nervous about it, right? They're not the early adopters. And I would say at this point, you're not even really an early adopter, but it's like, I encourage people to get in and play with it. And, I use it every day personally, and I use it for different, many different functions, right? It's not one thing I use it for. Like I try something new each day, like recording Zoom call transcripts, right? Give me a summary of the call with the follow-ups or different things like that. I mean, little things like that people don't think of, but that is a game changer, right? Instead of, I don't know about you guys, but I'm old school. I still write on a piece of paper and I get to the end and I can't even read my own handwriting at the end of the call. I'm like, all right, I know what that's supposed to be, but I can't even read it, right? So it helps me in that fashion. So I think everybody finds a spot to where it helps, accelerate your day. Like you said, it makes you more efficient. And once you get them down and you learn the prompts and you start to talk through it, I am going to give a plug real quick to Matt and his team. So I think it was Matt, was you and Staffing Hub and Leap Consulting put out a Chat GPT cheat sheet for recruiters. If you guys have not had a chance to check that out, go to the Staffing Engine LinkedIn page and take a look at that. It's a great beginner's guide, or not even beginner's guide. I think it's just a great overall guide of how to prompt Chat GPT to help with recruiting and staffing. And it teaches you how to put it in role and ask clarifying questions and different things like that. So anything you want to say about that one, Matt?
Well, that's been by far our most downloaded piece of content since I came on board, and it's not really even close. And it was meant to be a giveaway to help agencies sort of wrap their heads around different applications of it. And it was so widely adopted and supported on social media that we're actually having a follow-up release next week of a full AI content library, which is pretty exciting, and we think are going to be a big help. But we've seen everyone from your entry-level recruiter to your operations director to your CEO downloading that and asking us questions about it. So it just shows that AI is not a role-specific solution. It's going to impact a whole lot of different titles at different levels within organizations.
And talking about a space that can benefit from it the most, the staffing industry, where you talk about like I've always talked to my sales folks over here, and it's saying like money saved is not net revenue gained. And I feel like with the data and everything that comes with AI and what AI can do, staffing organizations can drive more revenue. Even if it's getting money in the bank a couple of days earlier, that's net revenue gained. And I just ripe for an opportunity here with AI in this space.
Absolutely. Well, guys, as we wrap it up, let's throw one more topic out here. I want to cover one last thing before we wrap up today, but let's talk about the future of AI and staffing and recruiting, right? Like if we pulled out our crystal ball, we think about, we talked a little about earlier, like it changes every day, every week, every month. Any big items that you would say that you might see coming down the road from an AI usage in staffing and recruiting?
I'm happy to hop in first. I think that the future of AI and staffing and recruiting starts with sales folks and us tech providers being good partners and listening to what challenges are in our customers' business and then pointing AI at it to solve a problem. And I'll give an example of that. We had a large healthcare customer bring us a challenge around their top of funnel lead distribution. What basically was going on was they had a lot of leads from a lot of different lead sources. And for them, healthcare, I'm talking candidate leads here, they had folks coming from their website, from their mobile app, from their corporate job board, and so on. And their executive team was basically every day going into that shared inbox, assigning out those leads. And as a result of that manual process, their lead response time suffered. Their average time to contact those leads were hours and in some case days, which was just not fast enough in the current market. And so our team listened to that. We pointed our AI platform at that problem. We bodified basically their shared inbox to strip out data from that using AI. Do a lookup, and they're a Bullhorn user, so do a lookup in Bullhorn, and then pass their information from Bullhorn to channels of recruiters in Microsoft Teams for rapid follow-up. That was not a product that was on our roadmap, but in going out and talking to other healthcare agencies, it's something that all the travel nursing firms struggled with and basically corroborated that that's a problem. And so we shifted our roadmap to pivot to solve that problem. And so a lot of times us recruiting technology providers think we have really good ideas, but really it's our customers, it's the staffing agencies who really have a pulse on what their problems are. And it should be our job to listen to it and then find ways to leverage AI to solve those problems.
Yeah, I think just the access to information and the personalization of models is becoming so important. What I get excited about is when you think about how does a staffing firm get the biggest bang for their buck? So if you understand who your clients are, if you understand your inventory, if you understand right where your recruiters perform the best in the relationships that they can gain with the people, and how do you actually guide that and use that to prioritize job recs, or you start to look at broader market conditions and where the talent's flowing and where your firm best succeeds. And so just this decision support tools, right, or this network of AI models that as you get more mature with your information and how you manage it and how you train AI to help and support you, that I think those applications are going to be really neat. And everything that Bullhorn is doing with their new data platform and tying all that together, like it's just going to open up this whole new world to say, how do I have our own chat GPT for our organization where we actually own the model, like we own the data? Because right now, ChatGPT has taken everyone's IP, right? It's like reselling it back to them. So, how do firms, take advantage of their data and use it to benefit themselves and can invest in it? So, I'm excited to see that come down the pipe.
Yeah, and I could see even a world where there's a lot of talk about direct sourcing, right? And it's starting to kind of pick up, but even in the traditional staffing world, right, using AI to create talent pools internally in your database, right? Like if you look back and you think about it, it's like, why hasn't that concept picked up quicker in a traditional staffing firm? What's the difference, right? It's not direct to the customer, but as a staffing and recruiting firm, why would you not have talent pools based on skills that you can then nurture? And then, like the concept is there, right? And so I think like from your standpoint with data, like we're just talking about, it's like, how do you create those and then leverage it to that automation, the nurturing, that piece of it, and just making sure that continues and grows.
I look at the notes and I see you asked 5 to 10 years. I'm actually very scared to predict that far out. Maybe like 5 to 10 months. But I think the different applications, Matt, you had mentioned this before, is like listening to your customers and your customer needs and the different applications. When you talk about staffing organizations, right now we're working with one of the large 5 staffing organizations, building out something to utilize our AI to help empower their sales teams while they're in the market trying to pitch their services and saying, here's our database of data. Here are the job roles that you have open. Here are 5 to 10 candidates that I can submit to you today based on the AI and based on our inventory. And I'm doing it at the palm of my hand. And so thinking about listening to your customers and then empowering different people in the staffing business with your AI. So now we're looking at not only making your recruiters more efficient, but making your salespeople more likely to close or better at their role while they're in the field pitching your products. And so I don't feel comfortable predicting out past a year or two because it's crazy how quickly it's changing, but it's encouraging too.
Just sitting here having this conversation, my mind's turning, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
my old school Robert Half days of MPCing, right? Like calling about your best candidate. It's like, why can't you have that built in so your system knows what your client's looking for and who your candidate when they come available? Like, how is that not automated, right? Like, how do you go ahead and take that process, right? And it just continue to build that engine in the background, right? That's just running and making life a lot easier for everybody.
Yeah.
Jeff, we'll let you wrap up. Last but not least on this.
When I think of the landscape of AI, I think of it kind of in 3 different categories. I think there's sourcing AI, there's generative AI, and then there's what we like to call directive AI. And I think that we have come so far in the world of sourcing in terms of help me find the right candidates, help me find the right jobs, help me build out my candidate database and create those talent pools, like you were saying, that technology is really delivering dividends today. The generative AI stuff, I think, is really exciting. I think there's still some room to go, but ultimately I see a world where that just becomes a natural extension of what we do. And it really helps us with all of our engagement and all the content information that we create when we're working with clients and working with candidates. I think the part that is really exciting is really the directive piece. And to me, that is where AI technology understands the behaviors, actions, and activities of your top performers and helps other people within your organization navigate how to how to really replicate those best types of actions, and it pulls the rest of the pieces together. And so I can see a world where, a job comes into the system and AI automatically takes over, and it automatically matches candidates. It notifies the recruiter. It puts together a set of screening questions. It helps them build a pitch. It walks them through that whole process, and all of these capabilities that we've been building over the last 10 to 15 years all kind of culminate into a kind of an end-to-end workflow where the staffing agency's true differentiation is really around the relationships and the strength of those relationships that they can provide, and the system can do much of the other stuff because it has become so intuitive and so aware of what are the best courses of action in order to deliver the right outcomes, that it's going to change that. It's going to change the experience of the recruiter and the salesperson in a pretty profound way.
I think we all agree, right? It's exciting and kind of scary at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Jeff, you probably scared several recruiters right there with your
it's all meant to help. It's not meant to replace.
Exactly.
That's the key.
When you have like directive AI and generative AI converging together, what happens is you no longer have A, B, and C players. Those C and B players now have the time and the help to more standardize across the team. And that should be exciting for especially like junior entry-level recruiters to level up almost immediately.
Yeah, I think we've all heard this statement probably 100 times in the last 90 days, but AI is not replacing recruiters. Recruiters using AI are going to replace recruiters. And I think Jeff made the point, it's still about relationships, right? To build that trust with the client and then leverage these tools and technology to then provide that better experience to them all the way around. So not only experience to the client, experience to the candidates. I think what we've covered today is, what I wanted to get out of this today was not ChatGPT. It was how your products and the AI tools are actually helping drive business, drive proficiency, drive a better experience for candidate and clients. And that's what excites me about the future of this, right? Like, I love technology. I've got 20 years in recruiting. I love to see the transformation that's taking place from 20 years of really not going anywhere to 3 years of just like hair on fire. We're going a million miles an hour, right? But it's exciting of where it's going to land and how it's going to continue to grow over the next several years. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for joining us today. I really appreciate your input. I think this is great information that's invaluable to people in our industry. So thank you very much for today. And I look forward to talking to all of you again soon.
Thanks, guys. It was
Thanks,
great.
Travis.
Thank you very much.
I'll take care.
I'd like to thank all of our panelists for joining us today. This was a great conversation with a ton of invaluable information regarding AI, its current state, the possibilities with it, and what the future looks like. As we move forward, there's no doubt the future of staffing and recruiting is AI driven, and approaching it strategically and with a strong, clean data as your foundation will set you up for sure success. If you haven't done so already, please visit us at PARQA.com. That's PARQA.com, and make sure you sign up for our monthly Pulse newsletter. And stay tuned for future episodes of the PARQA PulseCast as we continue to bring you topics, tools, and tech and other industry knowledge that will help you to continue to drive your staffing and recruiting business forward. Until next time, see you soon.